Hello guys, how are you today? I'm here putzing around with the track again, and I am coming to the realization that I think I'm going to have to move this farm, or at least part of it. So we have the track that comes from Central Station, does the whip around through here, and it comes up right here. This has got to meet up with that little dot right there. Now, well, actually not that one back here under the 12 for actually this one has got to rip around here somewhere and meet up with that. And I think fudge. Or we were talking about possibly going up through here, weren't we? Oh my gourd. Okay, one problem at a time. What I'm thinking with this one's quite long. You leave the Central Station, you take a roundabout that field, you go through here, you're going to be coming up, crossing here somehow, and then going up through the fish farm before you end. The quickest way to do this would be, I want to remove as few flowers as possible, of course. And it's starting to look like the best way up here is straight across this hill where the farm is. I could wrap it around, but the problem, we're still going to have to move flowers, because over here at some point, and I guess it depends on what we do with the one that leaves Night Station and connects up somehow here, because Castle and Night have got to meet. Oh, Castles and Knights, they're perfect for each other, but those two have got to meet up, and we have talked about various ways of doing that. Right now it comes out here. The other option, of course, is to move it up through this again somehow, and then run it through, the trees, and then end in this corner. And we know we're going to have to rip up part of this corner. That has become entirely too obvious in all the ways. This is going to be a massive job, or it feels like quite a massive job. That station right there has got to go someplace where it can meet up with all the other things. Now, I suppose I could take this out, put the flowers along this line, make that walkway shorter, move everything over by one. I wouldn't be losing too much that way. Actually, that's not bad. And then some of the flowers would still be there, just not as many. And run the track. If I run the track along here, if I took the clock tower and put it here and put the train station on this side, that's not dreadful. And then it would be running straight out along here. And at this point we take out trees and we run it along the walkway here till it meets up with this other set. And then go that way. We were planning on coming back toward us, but I think in this case we'd have to go that way and then come up behind something else. But we still have to get the track into this area in the first place. And I suppose whether or not I move that farm means I have to decide this issue first. Oh, this is going to hurt. Okay, so if we take this row out, we can run up. We can't because we've got the other track there. I say that's... So if we're running them both along here, this one's got to move over. Except it won't go down that hill. That hill will be a problem, so it's going to have to come all the way. Oh, that hill will be a problem. There will have to be a little bendy bit here someplace. And then this one, where this one could come up through that. So if we leave, Castle Station is here. The one comes in. If we take this one and turn, I wanted to go through the forest, so we had that all sorted out. I keep thinking I've got it, and then I realize that, yeah, well, you got this part. That doesn't mean the rest is working out all that well. Because if we leave this coming through the forest, which is feeling kind of nice, the only way through this side is this one strip right here. Now, if I do that... See, if I do that, then it makes it real easy. I just go around, connect, bang, done. But none of this gets driven through. Like this whole big block is just left ignored. So if I came through, see, I'm going to have to come up through that or something. damn, and here I thought I thought I had it all sorted, and I'm just wrong. You know, it feels like you do a section and you think this is good, and then so if I moved this this loop just back to here entirely, then this one would have room to come up through there, I think. But then nothing goes through the forest. It's so sad. I quite liked that. I like the little drive through the woods. The other does seem to make more sense, but this was kind of pleasant. It's like, oh, we're in the forest. It feels good, right? I like this. There's just no, okay, is there any other track? Is there a way, if I took this long one, then it would be looping up through and it'd be taking out a lot more forest, and that's not a great option either. Now, part of me is thinking, you know, just take this one and run that right up through and end at Castle. But then we would have one coming in from the west from Castle, one coming in from the east, and we'd have to put another station here to head up into the north. That one would have to get through all of this and then connect up with the fish to end. No, because then that's not good either. It's got to come out. Ending there is fine, but something has to come out of there. Well, bloody hell. I thought I had this sorted and I am just wrong. When I go to do it, it's not what I anticipated. I do declare. So we have a choice. We go through the forest or we go through that, but I'm not saying, you know, if I add another station, which I really wasn't keen to do, but I suppose, I mean, this would be a very short line. Castle to something would be a really short line. Then this one could end there. Then what would that do? We'd still have to get from here up through that and around. And the fish still have to be dealt with. Unless there's some way to take the fishing one and expand that into the trees. And I mean, I could. That one... but it would have to come out up this side somewhere, which means what? A whole lot of who? Actually, it's not dreadful. We could, instead of turning into that... Alright, what would this actually mean? If I connect this to fish and the fish comes up along this side instead and end, that's still not helping. Dang. So next time, you know what I'm going to do on the next, when we do the recycled thing? I'm putting in the train system first. Yeah, I'm putting in the train system first, and then we're just going to build around whatever is left. Because we need an in and an out in both. Unless, of course, I take this out, we put another station here, and then things might, because I've just got to stop here at this point. And I think, I'm starting to think this was not my best choice. I think we just need a station here, if I can fit one. And we'll see. So last night before I went to bed, I watched an old movie, My Fair Lady, and I noticed it was new on, and I'll be honest, I looked at it. I've seen it before, many years ago. I looked at it this time because I had a horse called My Fair Lady, and I think I may have told you guys about her. She was going to be given away for dog food, like sent to an auction where she would have just been sold for dog food by the pound. She was a beautiful horse, very pretty, but insane, quite dangerous to be around. And I ended up taking her home, and it worked out really well. It took a couple of years, and it took some really serious fights between us, and I mean fights between us. But she came along pretty good. She came along pretty nice, and I ended up, when I started getting ill, I sold her, and she ended up I sold her to a kid actually that showed her for years, and won all kinds of ribbons with her. They did really well together because she had turned in quite a pleasant horse. But her name, when I got her, they actually called her Killer Christie, and she was a problem. And then when she got really, really nice, I was showing her. I just called her Christy for a long time, but I wanted to put her in a show at one point, just as a sort of, you know, test of her nerve and our ability to function, get along well. And I wanted to change her name. I mean, Killer Christy is not the name that you want being announced if you've done something good. It seemed less than optimal. So I changed her name to My Fair Lady, because she had gone from what she was to what she was now. And it was a nice little name. It was good, right? So I saw the My Fair Lady movie and I watched it again. And the music is still outstanding. I mean, it's got some beautiful songs. It's the lady whose name I suddenly can't remember. I should be ashamed of myself. Who played Eliza Doolittle, of course, was just extraordinary, going from the whole rags to riches sort of person. She pulled it off. You know, it felt pretty convincing on both sides of that story. But it's a really terrible movie. I mean, in terms of, you know, how he treats her and their relationship and all, it's awful. It's actually quite grim. It's pretty terrible. He's such a misogynistic. He's terrible. He's just a terrible human being. And it's like, wow, how did I not see this in the past? I mean, really. No, just place it. It's like, how did I not notice what an awful, awful human being he is? I have now. And even at the end, you know, she becomes a very strong woman, and she's standing up for herself, and it's kind of lovely to watch, and blah blah blah. But at the end, she just like caves and goes back to this dreadful person. It's like, no, don't run, little girl, run. But oh well. For its time, right? For its time, it was considered, I guess, only right and proper that she'd want to live like that. It's actually it's a terrible movie. I still like it, but it's a terrible movie. Oh my gosh, I had a bit of a giggle. Like, oh my goodness gracious, this is, you know, the kind of things I grew up on, right? This is what you believed was right and proper, and is it, man, does that explain a lot about my life choices? Oh goodness gracious. Oh gosh. Anyways, we've got these moved, and we need to leave. We can't do any more because there probably will be a track ripping around that. We can put another plant in there in a minute, but let's see what we have for track over here. You know, just one problem at a time. Let's fix the fish one, because that one, it is the fish one. It's going to be the one that goes through the Holland Garden, through the Diamond Garden, and through the fish farm, and then ends at Night Station. So this is the longest ride, I think, of the property. This is the one you have to pack your picnic lunch for. This is going to be a long haul. And of course, this corner up here is going to have to be sorted out. Now, if I end up not bringing the other train through here, I can make this 3 wide again, and that will feel a lot better. But in the meantime, I think for right now, we are just going to connect these up and call this section a done deal before I face it's going to be some hard decisions is what it feels like. The other just feels like it's going to hurt either way. There's no right way to do this one, unfortunately, without removing a lot of things. Nope, you're going to have to turn right there, sunshine. There's no place else to go. And I could have made it shorter running through that, but are moving the farm, but I kind of like having the farm in the center, because I may end up just putting more Morgaberry daisies around it. So we'll see how that goes. And in the meantime, I believe I went to this outside line. Oh, what if I didn't? No, I went inside. Okay. What do I know? Who can remember that far back? I mean, really. Oh my goodness. Yeah, when I head for the recycled farm, which feels like it's going to need a brand new name now. I don't even remember what I called it before. I think I called it Fantasy Farm, because I once lived on a farm that actually had that name. And it wasn't weird and kinky fantasy. It was more like, dreams coming true kind of fantasy sort of thing. But the logo symbol had a unicorn on it. And I was sitting there trying to think of a name, just into the game, right? First farm ever, just into the game, not having a clue what a big impact this thing was going to end up having on my life and how much of my life was going to get spent in this little world. There we go. We have a done deal. So leave here. We take a ride through the gypsy field, through the diamond garden, up along here, right through the center of Holland Farm, down here through the fish farm, bam, at the new station that's there. Good job. And then we had the last leg of this trip. And that's not where I wanted to go. But while I'm here, may as well, right? May as well. Click on a few things and make some jam. We be jamming. Absolutely. Well, we got another one done. But yeah, we're planning out a train ride. And I think I had started a train ride on the other. Just a loop or two, or just around the outside of it, something like that. But I'm going to give that one some serious thought, and we're going to make all the stations in place. We're going to have everything ready, and then we are going to build around that infrastructure. We're not going to be doing it this way again. Urban renewal is all fine and good, but it hurts. And yeah, sometimes, I had friends that had a farm, a lovely, lovely big place. The house sat at the top of this hill, this fabulous view of fields and woods all around. It was really nice. And the city, or the government at any rate, decided that they were putting a different highway along that stretch of road, about 60-70 kilometers worth of it. And it was going to be, a big 4-lane, 2 lanes one way, 2 lanes another way. And they decided that the best route was going to go right through the middle of their farm, right through the middle of their pasture. It was actually, there was going to be, well, not through the middle, let me rephrase that. You had the house and the barns on one side and a little bit of pasture. And, as you kind of slope down into a flat spot, all the pasture was laid out in front of them. And they raised horses. They had that was their business. That was their living. And the government decided that the road would be best going through that lovely flat spot of their property, and forced them to sell a strip of it. That's the best part, just a strip of it. They didn't buy the whole farm. No, that would have cost way too much, because it was quite large. So they ended up having a house and a barn on one side, a 4-lane highway with, a divider between it, and no possible way to cross it. They didn't give them any sort of, walk over or tunnel under. They just built the highway there, and then all of their wonderful pasture and fields were on the opposite side of that. And because of how other roads went, the other highway the older one used to be on the other side of them, and to get to their field was something like a 15-20 mile drive. It was, they destroyed them. It absolutely destroyed them. They lost their entire source of income. And it was, the last time I saw them, it was so sad. They literally had no money to keep up the house anymore. They had to get rid of all the animals. They couldn't afford to feed them. They had a few goats left. It was just, it broke my heart. It just broke my heart. And last time I saw them, they were barely managing to eat. They hadn't been able to buy new clothes in years. It was really, really sad. It was one of those things. And they'd been farmers, and, they were, I bet say they were older people. Oh my God, they were up about my age by this time. So it was, you're not really in a position to just go, oh, well, I'll just change my whole life and start a new company somewhere else. First of all, they didn't have the money. They got enough money to pay for a small strip of field, right? Which was hardly enough to start a new life with. And of course, they couldn't sell their farm then. The other field had no particular, had no access to it. And anybody who would have bought it from the other side would have said, it's just field. There's no housing, there's no water, there's no drive, there's no electricity out here. It's just a chunk of land. Like, what am I going to do with that? I guess some, housing developer could have bought it, but it was a bit too far out of town up here for that. There are places much closer, but it was so sad. So I'm putting that train track through Holland Farm here, feeling a lot of guilt all of a sudden. It's like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I wrecked their lives. I will have to find a way to make that work. I'm going to go back over there. And we're not done with things like windmills or roads or buildings. But I've got to find a way to make that work because I'm feeling like the guilt is real. Oh, heavens. Right now I'm feeling really bad. Don't do it, you evil woman. Don't do it. You hear about stories like that, and it's like, oh, that's so sad. And then you just see these wonderful people's lives deteriorate around them over the years that after that had happened. And it was really sad. Because when you have a bunch of horses and you need your fields for pasture. They need to be out. It's a lot cheaper to feed a horse when he's pastured for a few months a year than it is to be having them stabled and fed all the time. It made a big difference to them. But horses are a bit pricey to keep, just a bit. Even with pasture. Oh my gosh, no kidding. But you love them. Oh, I've had horses in my head so much lately. It's just all the time. I just can't seem to get them out of my head. I want to go riding again. I want to be riding. I saw a house up for rent the other day in Ayrshire, out in the country. Really nice. It was a lovely place too. It was okay, this is just about perfect for me and my lifestyle and what I would want to do, and having my family over to stay for long periods of time, and recording rooms and work, the whole thing, offices. It was a great place, and it was a decent price. It was more than I can pay for it, but I mean, for what it was quite a good price. And it was in the country. Behind the house was a bit of woods and a big field, a great big field, and more woods, and a walk across another bit of field, and there was an equestrian center. And it's like I could just walk out the back door, walk across the field, through some woods, and be at a horse barn. It's like, I need this place. Oh gosh, how do I get there? I really need this place. Okay, well, we'll get that all sorted out. We have another stretch of track done, and the age-old question of the corner from hell remains. There it is, folks. We're going to have to work this out. I have to decide, am I coming up through here or am I coming up through here? I'd like to get part of this into the mix for the train ride because we're taking out all of this now. So... and there's no way to come around and back without going right through the center of our carnival. So that's not a real working. If I moved this loop here over, I could run that up and through and get all the things, but I have to find a way through this to do it. So I'm going to have a wee look at that. I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully with a fix. It's got to happen sooner or later, right? At some point there'll be no place else to go and my decisions will be made for me. which sounds like a relief. Oh my goodness. Thank you for your comments, your thumbs up, your kindness. I really appreciate you guys being in my life. Bye-bye, guys.